Is Miami really about to pay $10 million for a quarterback? We're about to enter a world with some legal drama, columns about the state of the sport, and one big fan base in college football bringing out the pitchforks. Is this all Miami's fault? Could that quarterback still wind up at his previous school? And how crazy is this offer actually? Is it really $10 million? I'll answer all that in this video. Welcome into OFB College Football. I am your host, John Kurtz. Subscribe to the channel if you want to be the smartest college football fan in your group chat. Of course, we got some major transfer portal drama at literally the final hour. The final hour as we're entering the closing of the window of 2 weeks. Duke quarterback Darian Mensa decides to enter the portal with the immediate reporting coming out that it is Miami here that is going to be the destination. There were a couple of schools that were really desperate for a quarterback as the portal window drew closer to a close. Miami, Ole Miss, Tennessee among those. And it's Miami who apparently has made the move to get this one. Now, you might say, why is this such a big deal? Well, Duke's Darian Mensa, seen here in a decision video. It's literally called The Decision, a la LeBron. He makes reference to LeBron at the end of it. This was a month ago, okay? A month ago, he pledged that he was returning to Duke. He's got a signed contract, a 2-year deal that was signed when he came over to the Blue Devils that was reported to be totally worth about $8 million. So you figure it's going to be about $4 million this year for Darian Mensa to play for the Blue Devils. He did the decision video. Contract signed. He's there. He's a Duke Blue Devil. And at the very final hour, decides to enter the portal because Miami is sniffing around. So what did Miami have to do to get him in the portal? And why exactly do people feel this is so bad for college football? And is this Miami's fault? Should Miami be taking all the blame here? We're going to answer those questions. Look, Miami's not shy about throwing money around, and they shouldn't be. Okay? One, it's working, as evidenced by the fact that I'm sure you're aware, if you're watching this channel, they will play for a national championship on Monday. And it's the system that we're in. Don't blame Miami. Don't blame Texas Tech. These schools that are spending a bunch of money, they are just doing what the system allows them to do right now. So I get frustrated with anyone being upset with Miami or Tech for the money that's being thrown around. As far as what this offer actually is, we only have rumors at this point in time, right? But I pointed out Darian Mensa is making $4 million. So you know it's going to have to be a lot of money. And here is what the rumor is right now, okay? Buy out the Duke contract, pay $10 million total to make the whole transfer go down. All right, country club housing, an Adidas deal and campaign, sister getting a scholarship. These are the types of things that you see a lot in the rumor mill when it comes to what these deals actually are. So, I mean, is it going to legitimately be a $10 million deal? I'm not sure, but it's going to have to be a lot. And the $10 million obviously wouldn't totally go to Mensa because some of this is going to be about getting out of that Duke deal. We also, by the way, know that Miami was willing to put an offer on the table of about $6 million to Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, who was going pro, is going to go pro. He said no to the Miami offer, but that also makes $10 million total price tag for this thing not seem so crazy because this could end up being a messy legal battle. By the way, that was, according to The Athletic, the $6 million offer for Ty Simpson, if you don't believe me on that. Could this end up being a messy legal battle? Well, again, referencing The Athletic reporting, key piece of this deal could be that Duke actually owns the NIL rights, the name, image, and likeness rights of Darian Mensa. So what does that mean? Well, theoretically, it could mean that any school that is going to try and pay him revenue sharing money would have to get Duke's approval in order to do so. That obviously is where this could get very, very messy. And The Athletic says that Duke officials say, hey, another school could buy the NIL rights from Duke, but Duke would have the option to say no. So now here we are. There's not an actual buyout, according to the reporting in this contract, which some of these have now. But if you have to buy the NIL rights from the previous school, what is Duke going to put as the price tag for that? And or do they even say yes at all? So we could also, I guess, still see him remain at Duke if everybody decides they don't want to deal with this. That will be interesting. Now, I doubt that happens. I'm not sitting here trying to be naive about that. But for those of you that are college football fans, I'm sure you paid attention to the DeMond Williams saga. Really talented freshman quarterback at Washington. This is almost exact same situation. He had signed a deal, announced he was coming back to Washington, and then LSU and Lane Kiffin come sniffing around, and they get him to enter the portal earlier in this window. But in this case, there was a $4 million buyout in its Washington contract that had just been signed. And according to the College Sports Commission's rules, not only would LSU have to pay that $4 million, but it would count against their revenue sharing for the year, right? So you have a pool of $20.5 million or so for the entire school. Usually football gets 14 or 15 million. You can't have $4 million in just dead revenue sharing money. Like you think about the NFL dead cap money. You can't have dead revenue sharing money. That's not feasible for LSU. So guess what? Damon Williams wound up returning to Washington. So these battles are not necessarily going to be lost by the school that's losing their quarterback. We have seen that as a precedent here. So I don't think this battle is done. But look, is this bad for the sport? Is it all Miami's fault? Let's start with that. Is it all Miami's fault? No. And this, I was getting into it on Twitter with some Miami fans, flooding my mentions. Look, I understand why you guys have a chip on your shoulder. I understand that you take a lot of hate because I've seen it with Texas Tech, a school that spends a ton of money, and the hate that comes their way just because people are sort of flailing and gnashing at anybody that they can find as a scapegoat for what's happening in college sports right now. Miami's just playing the game. I'm not mad at Miami. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Well, I kind of hate the game right now. I hate the spot that college football's in. I don't blame Miami for this, but I do think Duke should absolutely dig in and fight the hell out of this, because I would also say if we're going to allow Miami to fight for its own best interests, which I am, that's totally fine. Duke should be allowed to fight for its own best interest too. By the way, defending ACC champion Duke. And they are. It sounds like. And that's what I'm advocating for here. So just because I'm advocating for Duke to fight for its own does not mean that I'm blaming Miami for what's going on. Everyone's going to fight for their own interests. And a part of this is I think it's just such a precedent-setting thing. If this goes down and there's not going to be any major blowback on Miami, like Miami's not going to have any major consequences from this, having to pay a bunch of money or whatever, that's quite a precedent to set for where we're at in college football. And it's just like, already nobody is safe. But that would be like nobody is safe, man. You get these guys signed to contracts. You supposedly have their NIL rights, or you have a big buyout in there. If we can still have other schools come and pluck them, that's just going to turn it into an even more chaotic environment. Once again, I don't blame Miami for that. I don't blame Texas Tech for that. Anybody that's doing this, even LSU and Lane Kiffin, which, Lane Kiffin obviously has drawn plenty of ire from myself and others. I don't blame any of them for that. It's the NCAA's fault. Decades of terrible NCAA leadership, not giving any concessions to student athletes along the way. Hey, let them get paid for some autographs. Let them transfer if their coach leaves. Things like that. We could have maybe avoided the lawsuits. Instead, they dug in, then got lawsuits, got sued to oblivion, and now they have no control over anything. Like, that's the problem. But I would like to see the sport get to a more long-term sustainable place. Like, I understand popularity is as wide-reaching as it's ever been for the sport right now, and I do think that's great. And there's a part of this that's just so entertaining. Like, people are tuning in to find out about every little move like this. But I do think some more stable, healthy ground to make sure that this sport, which we all love so much, is going to be good for the long term. And that's why I just don't love the situation. No blame to Miami, but I don't love the situation. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you on Miami's side here? Are you on Duke's side? Are you mad at me for whatever it is that I said here? Just let me know. I don't care. Let me know in the comments. Let's chat about it. And if you want to be the smartest college football fan in your group chat, make sure and subscribe to the channel. Get more college football insight from somebody who's covered the sport full-time for nearly 2 decades. I've been in big stadiums, my friend. Texas, Oklahoma, big-time bowl games. I've got the insight you need here on OFB College Football. Take care.